Hi, my name is Rachel Smythe and I'm the creator of Lore Olympus. Lore Olympus is a modern-day deconstruction of the Greek myth of Hades and Persephone.
Oh, I am mad angry about this specific topic. So strap in, get some snacks, get a drink. This might actually be the longest audio I'll ever make on this one subject because it has bothered me so much for like the past 2 years. Real quick, let's get the pleasantries out of the way. Subscribers, patrons, editor, lovely people, don't know what I'd do without them. Thank you so much for sitting with me through this absolute nightmare that we're about to go through. I appreciate you guys more than you will ever know. And also something YouTube algorithm, whatever. If you've seen the title, I'm about to rip into Lore Olympus. Now, if you absolutely love this webtoon, I'm gonna spoil, right, everything real quick. I too love this webtoon, right? It's trash, but it's my trash. But from a writing perspective, ooh, it bothers me. Ooh, it bothers me so much. Now, because the intro, right, introduced the actual author, Rachel Smythe. I have nothing against her, right? Get it, girl. Like, get the money, get all the other stuff. Wonderful for you. This thing has won a bunch of awards, right? This particular webtoon won a bunch of awards. But right when the pandemic hit and then nothing had anything to do, if I can say words, let's try that again. Right when the pandemic hit and nobody had anything to do, this webtoon really hit its popularity. And I do mean that, right? It really got going. I'm not saying that the story isn't good. It's fine. I am just saying that if the pandemic probably hadn't hit, it would probably have taken a lot of people. I can speak, I promise. It'll probably take more people longer to have found it. But again, right, this is nothing against Rachel Smythe. I have no ill will towards this particular woman. She's done an amazing job getting her vision of this story up off of the ground. Love that for her. Love it so much. From a writing viewpoint, ooh, I'm about to rip into this thing like it's wrapping paper on a Christmas gift. So, if you absolutely love this webtoon, I'm going to let you know right now, I'm about to dig deep into this like it's the world's deepest blackhead. So, if you don't want to be here for when it pops and when I inevitably lose my cool and start screaming, I'm going to ask you to please move away. But if you feel you're mature enough to handle this conversation, by all means, stay. Like I said at the beginning of this, okay? I read this, right? Every single week that it comes out, all the episodes. I was late to the party because I didn't start until 2022, like the beginning of the year 2022, so I had a lot to catch up on. I read this. I do enjoy it. But like I said, from a writing perspective, this bothers me a lot. This falls into the same trend as all the reboots fall into, where everything is only a little bit changed and then nothing is changed. And sometimes I feel like we get derailed from the main love story to focus on other people's love stories because we're stalling for time, and then we go back to the main love story when we have figured out where we're going with it once again. Which is not to say it's not a bad thing. Sometimes when you're writing, stepping away from what your main focus is to go write something entirely different is a good thing. Realistically, it is a good thing to sometimes step away from all the stuff because it gives your brain a chance to reassess your story. Rachel Smythe is a genius. Good on her of like plugging in other like Greek myth love stories that probably were happening around the same time. Here's what I like about her rebooted series. Hades does not actually kidnap Persephone. What a great start. The biggest part of the myth, the original myth that bothered so many people. You kidnapped your wife, sir, and then you lied to her to eat pomegranates to stay with you. Rachel Smythe was like, nope, don't have time for that. Let him eat in a normal, organic-y kind of a way and go from there. Wonderful. 10 out of 10. What a wonderful start to this story. And now is the part where I get to bitch and moan incessantly about why everything else after this bothers me so much. If you actually read, right, the original myth of Hades kidnaps Persephone and all that stuff, right? Hades, for all of his ooh soft boyness in the modern era, that's not it. That's not the original Hades or the original Persephone. Granted, in the original, Greek mythology, they are the only married couple that have never had any problems, which is not a high bar to cross, but damn if it's not a high bar to cross when we're talking about the Greek, gods and goddesses. The Greek mythos is full of so many horribly wrong things, but being a semi-decent couple to each other and not cheating on each other seems to be the bar that everybody trips on. Looking at you, Zeus. But Hades doesn't do that. Hades has one wife. He has no mistresses. He has no children. Let me rephrase that. According to myth, he has children only with Persephone. Put an asterisk on that. We will come back to it. Realistically, Hades sounds like the perfect spouse. In actuality, sir, you kidnapped your wife and kept her for God knows how long and then tricked her into being stuck with you for 6 months out of the year. And we are not told if you were really benevolent or not to her, but we do know that it was a very forced marriage for no other reason than the consummation of which was non-consensual. Because of YouTube's BS terms of service, I can't say the word I want to say, so non-consensual consummation is what we're gonna go with, and if YouTube still flags me, do it. I don't care. I know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, this is the part that bothers me, is because in the modern retellings of any, Hades or Persephone myth, for whatever reason, people have decided we're gonna demonize Demeter, Persephone's mother. Which I'm like, I need to have somebody explain to me why specifically are we demonizing Demeter? Because in the original mythos, Demeter was shocked because Hades literally just did a drive-by kidnapping, and Demeter couldn't get to the underworld. She literally couldn't dig down far enough because Hades was just like, nope, do not pass go, do not collect $200. Illegal. Because she couldn't get in, she realized her only recourse to get her daughter Persephone back from Hades would be Zeus, because he's the king of all the gods. So she literally strong-armed him into getting her daughter back, and then through some bull honky with some pomegranates, she still didn't get her kid back. And when she finally did, her and Persephone actually cry for everything Persephone lost. I'm going to say that again. This daughter and her mother, when they see each other, cry because of everything her daughter lost, because some man she had never met kidnapped her and made her his wife through the most crazy reason in the world, and Demeter could do nothing about it except accept it. What? I don't know how many of you are moms, but I'm gonna let you know right now. I'll put this into perspective of, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Despite what everybody likes to say is that Hades is a loving flower child, Persephone is a cool badass, and Demeter is just that mean lady who doesn't want them to get married. In the actual mythos, Persephone wasn't anything. She was a legitimate teenager, or teenager-esque, and her mother was teaching her to take her place to run the earth. That's it. And then Hades does what Hades did and kidnaps her. And I know I keep harping on about this, but it does bear repeating. And I'm not going to stop saying that until people remember it. It's the only thing about Lore Olympus that I actually liked, is that Hades didn't kidnap her. They actually met pretty normally and then just fell in love through shenanigans. And I was like, I can't even be mad about that. I can't be mad about the fact that somebody rebooted this myth and decided that this, the most problematic part of the myth itself, they're just not gonna do. I was so happy about it. And then everything changed when fucking Apollo appeared in the webtoon. Now, For those of you who just refuse to pick up a book, Apollo is the Greek sun god. He will screw anything that moves. He's just as much of a whore as his dad. Zeus, I'm looking at you. But in this webtoon, Apollo doesn't take no for an answer and non-consensually forces himself onto Persephone, and it becomes a really big, part of her story. Now, I'm gonna let you know right now, when you write this particular kind of a character arc, it's not even a character arc. It's literal emotional trauma that will be messing with people for years on end. I've known this... I will not say her name because I love and respect her too much. I know people who have had this happen to them when they were literal children. Sometimes her mind, for no reason whatsoever, will just be like, you know what sounds like a great idea? Time to relive this shit all over again in 4K definition. Because it's decided that it needs to. It is a fear response. It is a survival response. The brain will not let it go because there is no way to let that go. Your brain is so scared of it happening again that it's like, we're just going to keep replaying this so that way we know all the signs that preceded it the first time will be ready the next time. No. No, please don't. You're literally hurting yourself. But that's how the brain works. So, you would think, right, that this would be a really big, important thing in the webtoon. And it is. Sometimes. And by sometimes, I mean, it becomes really relevant when I feel like when Rachel Smith really wanted to, shove it. The only plus side I can say for this is that, she's getting therapy for her stuff. What a wonderful, way of explaining that you should go see somebody about this, because they might be able to help you process all of your stuff without literally just having years of emotional flashbacks and ruining your day-to-day life. But again, and as of now, when I am recording this, right, September 19th, 2022. So I know this audio is going to go up later, but this is how early I've recorded this. As of now, Apollo has not once actually been brought to justice for what he did, even though supposedly everybody knows about it in some way, shape, or form, but he's not been, brought to justice. So that's a thing that's gonna bother me about this. And if by the time this audio actually goes up, in the future, that'll be great. However, that will have to be saved for when we actually see it. Until then, I'm gonna sit here and say, why was Apollo made the main perpetrator of this to Persephone? Because not even in the original myth, Apollo was the main perpetrator of this that happened to Persephone. Hades was. And I know why, right? Because if we're trying to tell a love story between Hades and Persephone, we can't have him be the bad guy. Why? Nobody has ever, written a love story where you're gonna reboot a myth this dark, and just instead of, we already got rid of the kidnapping, we can get rid of this too, because it really doesn't work in a love story. Nope, we're gonna shove it in there like a fat guy's toe into a baby sock, and we're gonna make it fit, damn it, even if it's very uncomfortable. Why? Why couldn't we have just let this die? I'll tell you why. Because they needed a point of focus, and they needed to explain that Hades is good and Apollo is not. And I'm gonna let you know right now, if you guys were if you're trying to write that your female main lead is an empowered young lady who doesn't need no man, maybe make it to where she actually has a bone to pick when people try to play dress up with her like she's a Barbie doll. Because Persephone constantly says that she's trying to be her own independent woman away from Demeter in the webtoon specifically, but every time people buy her clothes, they don't even ask her input of what she likes. They just buy her stuff and say, oh, you'll look really nice in this, like she's a doll. No, I'm a grown-ass adult. I will dress myself. I know my style. I have really no room to talk, right? I dress like a circus clown. I'm in my pajamas all the time because I work from home. But Persephone is, right, that's how she is supposed to be written, but she is not written that way. She is written like a, sometimes, honestly, vapid girly girl, and it makes me mad is because I'm like, you swing wildly, inconsistently between vapid valley girl and, like, emotionally stable, well-rounded, three-dimensional badass. And I need Rachel Smith, right? Again, no shade to her, but ma'am, please pick a direction, because she needs to be one or the other. And if she's going to be a combination of both, she does sometimes need to bring out the other while she's in the, basically, the shoes of the first one. Case in point, you want to write a vapid valley girl, but she has to have a moment of actual, like, I'm not playing this game with you. You need to write that in there. Or you're going to play the I don't take anything from anybody, but you want to insert valley girl moments. You can do that. I know it sounds wild, but you can in fact play mix and match with your personality traits. It doesn't have to be one or the other all the time, I promise. I switch between being a vapid airhead and being a semi-functional adult all the time. It's fun. It's not fun for everybody else, but it's fun because they never know what they're expecting. But then everything changed, right? Everything changed when all of a sudden somebody I knew that also really, really likes this particular webtoon, because they're the one that got me into it. They were like, oh yeah, Persephone is supposed to be written as a chubby girl. And I remember I looked at the art for Persephone, I looked at my friend, I looked back at the art for Persephone, and I asked her, where? And I do mean that, right? If you're gonna make it to where she's not the traditional skinny waif, by all means do so. But don't draw her with an hourglass figure and then tell me that she's a chubby icon. I'm gonna fight you on that. There's a big difference between being busty and being chubby. I better see fucking bakery rolls, like, for Thanksgiving on you if you're gonna be called chubby. But busty is not the same thing. I am busty. I have nothing in the middle. I have everything everywhere else. Do you see why it's like, I'm busty, I know that. I'm not chubby by any means. I have a friend who's chubby. I love her. Oh, I love when I get to cuddle with her. It's like sleeping on a marshmallow. Hi, Claudia. But do you see what I mean? It's like, you guys can't pull that card and then show me a picture of a woman with an hourglass figure and then tell me chubby. No, not even close. You guys need to learn to get your body proportions right. And that's a me thing, right? That's not even a writing thing. That's more of a me thing that has nothing to do with writing. But if we're gonna go on the, like, tangent of writing, it makes no sense is because even though people dress her up and all of this other stuff, and supposedly she's chubby, not once does anybody ever ask her, well, what do you want to wear? And nobody ever asks her, hey, do you want to go to the gym to maybe lose weight? Or, like, talk to her about, like, how she's pulling off all of these fashion icons. Hades doesn't even make it a point to tell somebody off about them making a nasty remark about her for that. It's never brought up. It's only brought up as often as people need to bring it up, and I'm like, okay, but I've never read that anywhere. Somebody had to tell me this, and I don't even know if that's actually true. Realistically, I was so confused. Had to look it up on the wiki, actually, and yeah, I guess so? Question mark? Big question mark? Anyway, but it's the reason why, even though I really love Lore Olympus, the more I read it, the more I find inconsistencies that bother me. Case in point, Hades, because if you read the myth and you know this, Hades was eaten first by his father, Kronos, because Kronos had got this crazy prophecy to him that his children were going to kill him, and after eating them, I couldn't imagine why they would want to kill their dad. Right? That's sarcasm in case you missed it. But in the webtoons, it's shown that Hades, because he was eaten first and he was in Kronos the longest, he's got a lot of scars for that. Scars that wake him up in the middle of the night because they hurt him. Except, I guess, that comes kind of out of left field. No, I shouldn't say it comes out of left field. We were introduced to the fact that Hades has to see a therapist pretty early on in the comic. But the actual this is traumatizing for him kind of felt like it came out of left field, is because we should have, as the audience, right? Your audience should always be made aware of stuff first and foremost before anybody in the actual story is made aware of it. Because if your audience is not aware of why the character is doing certain things, like going to therapy, it's gonna feel like, wait, why are you going to therapy? I feel like I'm missing an important part of your character arc, and nobody's telling me about it. Which is true. If you're gonna write mental anything, right? Health, illness, psychosis, any of it, you should at the very least try really hard to get your audience clued in onto stuff, unless that big shocking reveal is actually supposed to elicit an emotional response. It did elicit an emotional response from me. Annoyance. Because I felt like it was shoved in and not in a good way. Now, I'm more than open to people telling me I'm reading too much into it or I'm being unnecessarily picky. By all means, please say so. But, again, from a writing perspective, it bothers me because there was no forewarning for it. There wasn't even vague allusions to it. So that's why it's bothering me. This whole audio is basically just an opposition of why it bothers me. Because, but don't you really like this stuff? I do. It's trash. It's my trash. But from a writing perspective, I've got so much to bitch about, and I'm gonna bitch about it. We're almost done, though, I promise. The reason why I bring this up, and I don't mean to bring it up because I want to complain about it so much. The reason why I bring this up is because I could go on and on for hours about color theory. I could. But if I go on for about colors theories, it's more about me just being mad that somebody didn't, correctly put the colors together in a color theory way, and it's bothering me because I like to draw, but it's not going to bother everybody. Some people really do not care what random color you've drawn somebody in. It really doesn't matter. It honestly shouldn't matter. However, from a writing perspective, I can nitpick because I self-published a book. Technically speaking, I have a right to be upset about it. But again, that's definitely more of a me personally thing than it is anybody else kind of a thing. And it's only because I'm not going to sit here and bemoan Rachel Smith, right? Everybody works really hard on their passion projects. And I cannot imagine it is easy to have to not only write what you're trying to do, but then also put it to paper. As somebody who only doodles, right? Like my new character sheet, right? My new puppet that you're seeing, I had to doodle these. So I know they're not that great, but I wanted to try my hand on it. I know they're rough, but they get the job done. But I can't imagine having to do a whole comic to get my story out. I couldn't do it. So to Rachel Smith, right, from the perspective of doing a comic on the internet for people to see and critique, I understand, right? It's your baby. You worked as hard as you could on it and you've put out that product. And I'm really proud of her for that. Good on her. What a girl boss move. From a writing perspective, though, for an author, I can nitpick the shit out of this all day. But I'm not really going to. That's not really fair to her. Is there a bunch of stuff wrong with it? Yes. I could keep going. I had to work 2 days on this audio to, smoosh it down as little bit as I could so I wasn't sitting here for 3 hours just complaining. I have things that I want to nitpick on it. And I've nitpicked everything that I absolutely need to nitpick on it, and I don't want to nitpick it anymore. So, Rachel Smith, what a wonderful woman to get her vision of the Hades and Persephone myth redone out there. I'm really proud of her. From a writing perspective, I just wish maybe it could have been tweaked a little bit more. but I can't even be mad at it for what it's done. It's made people re-interested back in Greek mythology. It's made people actually care about the Hades and Persephone myth, when before it was just, ooh, Hades is a soft boy and his wife is part of a biker gang. Do you see though? It's like people have gotten used to reading about it again, and I'm actually really happy for that. In conclusion, do I wish that this was a little bit more streamlined and cohesive? Yes. Am I going to complain that it's not? Kind of. But what are you going to do about it? I'm going to keep reading Lore Olympus, because as much as I write writing-wise and have stuff to nitpick on it, it's kind of like reading fan fiction. I'm not reading it because it's going to be the next, best-selling #1 American novel. I'm reading it because it's fun, and it makes me happy. It obviously makes Rachel Smith happy. That woman is rolling in dough for her Hades and Persephone reboot. I can't even be mad at her about it. Damn, go. Do you, and do it well. And it's really the only opposition that I've got of this. I just wish it was a little bit more streamlined, maybe edited a little bit. But again, she's doing the drawing and the writing, so I can't imagine how aggravating that must be. But that's it. That's all I really have for today. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Bye.